Whenever I watch a movie, I usually pick it apart and I say, what were the top 3 things that you got out of that movie? Usually I watch it with somebody else. I'm like, what were your top three things you got out of that movie? Well, recently I watched A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. It's the story of Mr. Rogers' life. I don't know if you grew up watching Mr. Rogers. I think I might have watched him a little bit, but he was a little before my time. He ended his program in 2001, right? But his movie had such an impact on me. The top 3 things I got out of his movie: 1, kindness is infectious. He had a worldwide impact, and it just leaves you wanting to become a better person. Let's unpack each of those. Kindness is infectious. There's a scene in the movie, and I'm not going to give any spoiler alerts away in this movie review, because I want you to sincerely... I sincerely want you to watch this movie because it had such a good impact on my life. It's one of those movies that just has a solid impact on you. And so there's a scene in the movie where he's sitting there on a subway. I'm not sure if you've ridden the subway before. If you're from a big city, you probably have. I lived in Spain for a couple of years, and they have a metro in some of the cities, like in Madrid. And you're sitting on the subway. Usually nobody talks to anybody. It's usually dead quiet. And if there is noise, it's usually like rowdy kids, rowdy teenagers or something. Those rowdy teenagers. And some old person, keep it down, you teenagers. But everybody's just quiet. And you start seeing like these teenage girls whispering to each other. You're like, what the heck? And they're like looking over at Mr. Rogers. And all of a sudden, they start breaking out in song. And they saying, could you be my neighbor? Whatever that song is with the beautiful tune. I don't have it memorized right now. I'll have to sing it for you sometime. But they start singing along like the 3 girls. Then pretty soon, 10 people and 15 people. And the entire subway starts singing along in this song. And he's looking around and everybody's so happy. Everybody has a smile on their face. And they finish it. They finish the song and everybody starts clapping. He starts clapping along. And it's just so happy. You know, in a world that's so cynical, you watch the news and it just gets you down. And there's so much bad that's going on in the world. And a guy like that, with his kindness, he was able to infect so many people for the good. Another story that it shows in the movie is he's sitting there on a show. He's getting ready to film the show. And they have the Make-A-Wish kid that's there who has some kind of disease. And he's there with his parents. And the kid's just not listening at all. And he's like, what's your name, little boy? And the little boy's just like looking down and he's looking around. And he has this little sword and he's just hitting the ground or something. And he just keeps on trying to talk to him. Keeps on trying to talk to him. How old are you? Oh, wow, that's a really good sword you have there. Kid's not paying attention at all. And the parents are like, listen to him, son. Listen to him, son. Kid's not listening. Well, after 5 minutes or something, the kid finally like lightens up. He kind of looks up at Mr. Rogers a couple times. And then he smiles. And he's like, oh, what a beautiful smile you have there, son. Would you mind if I took a picture of you and your family? I love taking a picture of all my friends. And he takes a picture of him. And the kid just, he warms up to him. And that's Mr. Rogers. He was so genuine. And it makes you wonder, like, what am I doing with my life? Like, do I take the time when a kid's not paying attention? Do I persist and I'm trying to help them out? It made me really rethink my own motives when I interact with other people. Am I really that kind? And do I show that genuinity that Mr. Rogers shows? Point number 2, takeaway number 2, is that he had a worldwide impact. It's one thing, like I'll hear a lot of times, and I heard this recently, and I agree with it. Some of the best people in the world, some of the best people I've ever lived, never had their name in the record books. They've never amounted to very much in worldly status. But they've been some of the greatest people ever. And only a few people, maybe their family and their close friends, knew them. And I think that is genuinely great. And imagine if those people were able to take them being so great and share that with 10 times the amount of people and go from 10 people to 100 people, or 100 people to 1,000, 1,000 to 100,000 to 1,000,000. Mr. Rogers was this amazing guy, and he was a leader to so many people because he had a worldwide impact. His show aired for 33 years from 1968 to 2001, and it just got more and more and more popular. And one of the cool things is that, yes, he had a worldwide impact, but it wasn't sharing crap. It wasn't SpongeBob SquarePants. Like, what's the point of that? It's wasting your time, wasting your life. You're not becoming a better person by watching that. I have to admit, I've watched it, and it has a couple of funny episodes, but it's wasting your time. You're just sitting there. Mr. Rogers, he's teaching valuable lessons. And if you don't think so, if you haven't seen it, go watch the interviews with Mr. Rogers. They're very, very fascinating. And watch some of his shows, and you'll see the good values that he teaches to young kids, and they became the rising generation. He had such a good impact, and not just an impact on his local community, but a worldwide impact. Takeaway number 3 is that the movie makes you leave wanting to become a better person. It's based on a true story, not just about Mr. Rogers, but it follows this guy. He's a cynical journalist, and he's like, oh, there's no good in the world, and why are people like this? And he's just cynical about everything. He's just a Debbie Downer all the time. And it's like some movies, I think that there are different purposes in watching movies. Some movies, like Rocky and the Gladiator and Braveheart, make you leave and you're like, I want to go and conquer the world, right? Some movies leave you with a more tender heart and make you want to be kinder to other people and soften you up. This is one of those movies. I think both movies have their place. There are different times for different kinds of movies, but that is definitely the purpose in this movie. And if you've seen Forrest Gump, Tom Hanks plays Mr. Rogers in this movie and plays Forrest Gump. He has that same innocence about him and that same genuinity in him when he plays Mr. Rogers as he does play Forrest Gump. And it just, like I said, it makes you it makes you leave having a respect for life, respect for other people, wanting to genuinely become a better person. My challenge to you is watch this movie, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I always want to say Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I have the link below to watch the movie. And my challenge to all of you is watch one inspirational movie a week. That's my challenge, and I've been doing it for several years now, and my life has been changed. I'm so much more inspired by these true life stories, these documentaries, and also these fictional movies that inspire you to become a better person. I have a movie list as well on my website. Check it out below. But that's my challenge: is watch Mr. Rogers, watch A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and then continue and watch one solid inspirational movie a week. And I'll see you next time.